think you should.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Whoscussion. We are hosts from Whānau, that random guy, and the essentially pleasing Harriet Skelly.
Oh yeah.
Also joining us today is the late Crow. Say hello.
Hello.
Awesome. Alrighty, up on the agenda today, we've got Empress of Mars, also known as Thank You Mark Gatiss, Black Orchid, and for part B we've got Solitaire, which is the first companion chronicle we've done. Featuring the 8th Doctor and Charlotte Bullard, as well as my favourite villain of all time. And then we'll be finishing it up with the Hesitation Deviation, which I thought was going to be a lot harder for me to say, but thankfully didn't stumble on that. And the 7th Doctor Short Trip. I almost said 1st Doctor. Okay, so Empress of Mars, I'm going to get Harriet Skelly to take us away.
Oh, again, alright. So, we don't really start off anywhere, honestly. It's, I don't know. Initially, I was really skeptical about this whole thing. So the first instance of it, as soon as it starts off with being at NASA, I'm sort of just like, this is really camp. Why are we doing this? Please don't. But they sort of, I don't know if it's if it actually started getting better as soon as they showed up. I think it may have been once they found the message that it got suddenly better, because just this weird interaction that they have over top of all the employees of NASA, it just seems really annoying more than anything else, honestly. But the rest of the episode from there, honestly, is significant better. So we'll give it a pass. So they find this message. Well, NASA is sending this another Curiosity Mars that is just for peering into where Caps had taken over to give that information to NASA, and they find sort of an SOS, well, not really an SOS, written like SOS in rocks, that says, yeah, you all know what it says, and you should probably watch this, because it's quite amusing, in all honesty, especially considering the name of it being Empress of Mars. You're sort of just that could mean, Empress as well. It's great. It's actually superb. So the Doctor, Bill, and Nano, seeing this message on Mars, kind of curious about it, considering it's from the time of the Victorians. So it's a bit interesting that there were British people on. Well, they're assuming at this point British people on the moon in Victorian times. So they go there and find some Victorian soldiers, because why not? As well as an ice warrior, because we all knew where this was going as soon as we heard about Mars. It's got to be the ice warriors. So this ice warrior apparently has been named Friday for some reason. I didn't really get the reference as to why he was called Friday, honestly. But
they did explain it, but I honestly can't remember.
Yeah, I feel like it was something to do with the time that they were from, but I'm guessing no one with any history background would know what that was.
They did say that they called him Friday thanks to the Robinson Crusoe reference.
Ah, that's what it was. That's what it was.
So, whatever. So, turns out that Ice Warrior ship crash landed on Earth, and the Victorian soldiers found this ship resuscitated its only survivor from stasis, and he promised them all the jewels of Mars in exchange for getting him back there, basically. When he got back there, he realized that his whole race had gone because he's from way back when, which kind of makes me wonder how many Frost Warriors we seem to have crash landing on Earth all the time. But I guess it kind of makes sense considering that probably our closest neighbor at this point, so
Yeah.
would make a lot of sense.
And the first ever Ice Warriors story, those ones had been there for like 20 plus thousand years.
Exactly. So yeah, pretty long time. We instantly find out that that we don't really find out. We just get instantly feeling that something odd is going on here. Even though that he's totally told them that he's going to give them all jewels and stuff, and he's given them this weapon that can, laser drill basically. It just seems like he's holding something back, and all these things going on. Victorian soldiers. Eventually, we find that he was looking for the Queen the whole Empress, as they finally dig up her tomb. Well, more like stasis chamber, I guess. It kind of looks like ancient Egyptian tomb-esque, with like a sarcophagi deal going on.
It reminded me a lot of Rassilon's resting place.
Yeah, it's just the gold plating. It made me think more of
Egypt.
sarcophagus. Yeah, but also there is a pyramid somewhere on. Yeah.
Yes, there is.
So there's a thing there about that. Hey, that's not about that. I'm just talking about the story. So eventually, we get this long series of events, character development going on, that eventually leads into, of course, Victorian.
Oh, sorry, you're breaking up quite a bit there, Harry Scully. What was that?
Is that better?
That is better.
Okay, so we end up with this like plot development of character flaw, in particular, that causes the Queen to get awoken, and she's not too happy about the whole ordeal. And of course, neither are the Victorian soldiers. I love how brutal what happens goes on here with the warrior weapons. We'll get into more of that later. So she brutally murders like 5, just a lot of Victorian soldiers. It's really great. Really, they sort of come to a standstill with the Doctor and the Victorian soldiers. Doctor tries to talk them out of it, out of fighting, because he knows that the Victorian soldiers can totally get massacred, and it doesn't go so well. They end up having to back out and try to defend this area, blocking it off. Turns out the Ice Warriors are kind of good at combat stuff, so Victorian soldiers kind of get themselves messed up, and eventually ends with this fantastic character arc for the captain, who was originally a deserter, who came back, somehow managed to get his command back, but his second knew all that stuff, and finally he manages to get this redemption thing going on, where he finally basically bends his knee to a queen, finally accepts his fate, and then she, does her queenly thing and is like, "You're totally spared." And then we get probably the best nostalgia thing of all time
Yes.
come in. As we hear the voice of Alpha Centauri telling the Ice Warriors that they have been welcomed into the galaxy. Yeah.
Yes, we have.
And that's about it, really. It was short, like, plot wise, honestly. Like, there wasn't much to there was a lot to the plot, obviously. It's not a 40-minute long thing, but there's nothing really like big to say about it. Nothing crazy in particular happens. It's sort of like a filler story, but there are things that happen in the plot, like the character development of this the captain guy, of Friday, of the interactions between the Empress and Bill, that sort of stuff. So there's still stuff to it. Just a short synopsis.
Well, with that, I think I'll get the thoughts from the Late Crow. Late Crow, thoughts on Empress of Mars?
Yay, my turn. This episode was golden. I'd call it probably my second favorite of the series thus far. My first being Thin Ice. I just loved it to bits. I admit that when what's his name? The captain. His name, God Sacra? I can't pronounce that. The captain, I'm going to call him that. We know who we're on about. When he had his redemption arc and he bent down at the knee to the Empress, I got really emotional. That was beautiful. That was legitimately beautiful character redemption there. I loved it to pieces. Another thing is it's kind of separate from the story, but kind of important for the season, I guess, in that I want to know why the TARDIS buggered off at the start of the episode. It seems that either the TARDIS knew something was wrong or something's been rigged, perhaps. Don't know. But basically, TARDIS buggers off with Nardole in it, which results in him letting Missy out to help him take it back. Which is, I think we can all agree, the thing with the Vault is stupid as shite.
It's probably the worst thing about Modern Who, actually.
It's possibly, yeah. But Missy did, at the very end there, Missy did seem to question if something was wrong with the Doctor. Maybe she's instigated something for him, I don't know. But kind of leading into questions on that something's not quite all right with the Doctor himself. Just kind of thought I'd bring up that little side plot there. But Empress of Mars was flipping phenomenal. And given it was Mark Gatiss, I think we were all ridiculously skeptical coming into it, and then came out of it like, holy crap, that was amazing. Yeah.
All right.
Indeed.
Okay. Harriet Skelly.
Yeah, I'm gonna really repeat all of that. Honestly, it was magnificent. It played on a lot of solid emotion, and it had some, mostly kept with the classic Who in a lot of the plot elements. Not necessarily with the armor set, but otherwise perfectly fine, and we get our nostalgia in a nice way, not a throw it in your face way as well. There's a lot of it is the only thing that I can say about it really in general is that it felt a lot shorter than it was, and I guess that is simply just because it was more character driven than anything else. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm glad that it was short, sweet, and good, rather than being short and bad, or long and bad. So I liked it. I would happily watch it again. And it's really kind of sad that that he did such a good job on one of the last ones that he was going to ever do. So
yeah.
But yeah, thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you for not screwing it up this time.
I've pretty much got to just sort of echo what everybody's saying. It is good. It's surprising that Mark wrote such a gem. I think this is... I honestly feel this is my favourite for the season in its entirety. I did love Thin Ice, but I think for me this beats out Thin Ice. Alpha Centauri at the end, like the moment I heard is saying Churchman, just like I was just like, is that Alpha Centauri? And my wife was like, who the hell's Alpha Centauri? I was like, holy crap, is that Alpha Centauri? And then Alpha and Centauri appeared on the screen, and my wife was like, who's Alpha Centauri? I'm just like, I'm going to show you the moment this episode finishes. And we went back and we watched Curse of Paladin and Monster of Paladin. And it's just like, I know it's kind of a bit unfair for me to have that nostalgia trip as the reason, one of the main reasons I hold it in such high regard. But it was just like, having this be a prequel to John Pertwee's era, just like that was probably the closest I've ever been to actually having my mind physically be blown. Like, just how he managed to weave that in almost seamlessly as well, having it explain why they're not there in 150 years when humanity lands on Mars, was meant to land on Mars with the Bowie Base 9. Bowie Base 1. Also, like, I was a bit miffed, like I said last week, looking at the trailer with the design of the Empress, but I think, because Harriet Skelly pointed out to me that her helmet actually does look a lot closer to the Ice Lords than an Ice Warriors, so it's kind of, it does work. So I've let that pass and let that go, because like the quality of the story was great. There is one glaring negative I have, and it's something Mark Gatiss actually himself said in the media, is that, and I'm not having a go here, but there were no Afro-English soldiers in the Victorian Army. So that,
no.
And they gave him a character as well. Like, nobody else got one except for what was his name? Godlove. But he did, and it was about him marrying a white woman as well. And I was like, they are aware this is Victorian times, right? Like, no, that would not have happened. And especially with his comrade being so chummy about it, and I'm just like, no, that wouldn't have taken place. So other than that, because that did take me out of the story quite a bit. Other than that, I think this is a gem. Again, I agree with Harriet Skelly in the fact that the opening act could have just done without that whole NASA thing. It'd have been interesting if maybe it showed the Doctor looking at a newspaper article and it had like "God Save the Queen," and he's like, "What?" Like,
yeah, or even if he had to, like, for some other reason. You know? Like, rather than that weird, like, campy, oh, they're just about to do this, and then all three of them show up to places of NASA. It's like, what? Why don't you just have the TARDIS land? Like, what was the point of this? Yeah,
so that was a bit of a letdown for me. Was that and that random giving just him a character arc as well. I think BBC's been doing a lot of pandering of late. And I just thought that was kind of not necessary, especially since we already had Bill, and like Bill plays a major part in the story as well, especially in terms of talking to the Empress, and the Empress listening to just her because of the fact that she's a woman surrounded by angry men, and I'm just like, we already had this character. Did we need the anachronism of the Afro-English soldier? I don't think we did. So other than that, I think this is a gem. It's definitely something I'd go back and rewatch, which I'm sad to say, I think it might be the only 12th Doctor episode I would go back and rewatch. Like, I love Peter Capaldi, but his run, Thin Ice, maybe Thin Ice, especially, actually, I might go back and watch Thin Ice as well. So I mean, like, this season's given me 2 Peter Capaldi episodes I actually want to go back and watch, as opposed to having to watch because I'm on a weekly podcast. I think this is a gem. And if you love classic Who in any facet, this is just like, it's so great having this as a prequel to my favorite era. Like, I was just like, yes, Barry, let's do this. So with that, I suppose, any final thoughts there, the Late Crow?
No, nothing more to add.
Nothing more, Harry Skelly?
No, that about covers it. Looking forward to the next episode, actually, surprisingly. Hopefully we get something close to this. We're what are we? We're at halfway, right? Well, we've had a 50% go at good versus bad at this point, right?
And then
that was the number we came to.
Yeah, so this one that's coming up is written by the person who wrote the last Classic Who story, correct, The Late Crow?
Yes,
Yeah.
Rona Munro, I believe her name is, who wrote Survival.
Who wrote Survival. I quite like Survival. So I'm hoping that'll be good. To be honest, why hasn't Terry Dix been brought back? That frustrates me to no end. He's such a good Doctor Who writer. Bring him back, please. I'm hoping when Chibnall takes over, he's like, Terrence Dix, do you want to be in like every season? And he'll be like, hell yeah, and then he'll come back. That'd be great. With that, I will take us into the Black Orchid.
All right, so there's a way better way that we can go into our Classic Who section of this by saying that the person who was, who was it in this? So there was an actor in this previous episode. Just finding this out on TARDIS Wikia. There was a person in Empress of Mars.
Yeah.
Who played in our previous Classic Who story, The Visitation. He was the son of the Squire and the brother of Elizabeth in The Visitation.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
Just trying to find out who it was. Anthony Calf.
Oh my god, really? That's what's his name? Godsucker.
He was. So
that's
he was
amazing. He was the captain. Actually,
captain.
You've just pulled me into something else that threw me for a loop for that story. So we're not quite into Black Orchid just yet, because in the Victorian and right up until World War II, cowardice was met with being shot, not by being hanged.
It was.
So yeah,
maybe he was the first one to be hung instead.
Then they just went back to shooting randomly.
Yeah, although it could also simply be that he was in a position where they could not waste ammunition.
I see. Yeah, so like, or they've been the Crimean.
Yeah, or possibly even that, like, he wasn't found by the military. He was found by like a township, and the only execution method that they had was hanging instead of.
Okay, all right. You have me there.
It's still plausible.
Oh, also another thing. Did anybody else notice that the guy who woke up the Empress was one of the Kingsguard from Game of Thrones? He was a really, really evil guy.
That's great.
Yeah, I was just like, as soon as I saw him, I was like, bet you anything he's going to be a bad guy. And my wife was like, is that dude from Game of Thrones? I was like, yes. Yes, it is.
Perfect.
So we're finally in Black Orchid, which is actually the shortest classic story we've come across so far, next to The Edge of Destruction. And The Late Crow, take us away.
Okay, lovely. So, fifth Doctor story, we have Adric, Nissa, and Tegan as our companions. And they drop down in the TARDIS in rural England on a railway station. And they find that after just popping the head around the corner that they are expected, much to their surprise. And so they get roped into a game of cricket, of all things, which is incredibly appropriate given Five's attire. I feel that they wrote this part of the episode specifically to justify why Five is just the way he is.
Yeah.
Jonathan Nathan Turner was like, I need a reason.
I think Five was like, I need a reason. Because I swear that Peter was the Doctor who was like, things need to have a reason.
Yeah, no, yeah, because he also wanted there to be a reason for him to wear celery, because he hates celery in real life.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. But, so the Doctor being the Doctor is amazing at cricket and helps the person he's playing for, Mr. Lord Cranley, helps him win the match, and as a result, he and his companions are invited back to the Cranley Manor for a ball, a fancy dress ball. So that's fun. And when they get there, they find that Lord Cranley's fiance, I think it is, looks exactly like Nyssa. So, and just as an aside there, just the fact that Sarah Sutton's playing both of them just mentally took me back to Other Lives, which we went over a few Whoscussions ago.
Yeah.
Just that whole actors doubling up thing. It's great. So yeah, they've got that going on, and the Doctor is taken up to his room to be given a fancy dress, which is kind of like a creepy clown thing.
A Harley
for some
Quinn
reason
even.
reminded me of the. That's the name of it, but just the look of it, I don't know. For some reason I was thinking back to the Mara, not the Mara.
Oh
but the,
yes.
clown thing in the Mara.
Yeah, the being that becomes the Mara. What the hell's his name? Creepy guy. That's his
Yeah,
name. You know,
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought up the creepiness of that snake. Of that clown costume, because I've got the novelization of Black Orchid, and it always used to creep me out when I was a kid. Like the front cover of that book, because the front cover of the book is just the Harley Quinn, like looking at you, and I'm just like, no,
Scary.
no.
Please, no.
No, that's a creepy costume. I'm not sure why anyone would want to have that as a fancy dress, but they do. Whatever. So while the Doctor is, I think he's just kind of washing up, getting ready to put on the costume, some unseen person comes and puts it on instead and just skives off into the manor. Meanwhile, while a party's going on, just accidentally knocked my headset off there. Don't do that. Sorry, I'll start there again. Meanwhile, while the ball's going on, Nyssa and Tegan Nyssa and Anne. I don't know why I said Tegan. Nyssa and Anne, the Nyssa look-alike, they're deciding to have a bit of fun in that they're dressed exactly alike, to try and just have a bit of fun, see if everyone can spot each other out. The person wearing the Harlequin mask comes along, takes her for a dance, and tries to whisk her away. And probably my favourite thing in the entire episode happens at this point, in that Anne, because it's Anne that the Harlequin's taken off, she starts screaming, and the butler runs along, but he makes sure he puts the tea down first before doing anything else. That's like, that small thing is just the best. And
England.
not that it did him any good, because he got his neck broken for his troubles.
Mega murders.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Poor
is
butler.
ultra murdered.
and subsequently faints. And then Harlequin takes off. Yeah. Meanwhile, the Doctor has kind of been nosy and got himself stuck in the corridors, or the secret corridors of the manor, and even comments, why do I let my curiosity get the better of me? Can't resist a good corridor. To be fair, I would probably end up getting myself trapped as well. Who wouldn't? And in his travels trying to get out of these corridors, get himself stuck in, he comes across Lady Cranley and a native Brazilian, I think. It is Brazilian, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, they are saying he is from Brazil. Yes.
Yes, they are. He is dressed very inaccurately, because they dressed and wore those face jewelries about 1,000+ years ago. So that's one thing I've never liked about this story.
And then they did go calling him an Indian a couple of times, which threw me off.
Oh, well,
yeah.
That's another thing, is because the Americas, unfortunately, they were all called that. Not just the Navajo people, but those of the South America as well.
Yeah, they did call that the Mayans and stuff Indians as well. It's pretty champion.
Great work, guys. 10 out of 10.
Thank you, America.
Yay. So, yeah, while the Doctor is kind of surprisingly coming across these two, he's also found a dead body stuffed into a cupboard in this maze that he comes across. And Lady Cranley is kind of concerningly okay with this. It's like, oh dear, we shall, yes, we shall do something about this. And she takes the doctor back outside, not outside, out of the hall to his room, where he can finally get into his Harlequin costume, which the imposter has conveniently put back just in time for the doctor to get back into it and get framed for the murder. So that was fun. And then, so obviously Anne has woken up and she can name the Harlequin as being the murderer, and the doctor's wearing it. The doctor appeals to Lady Cranley to kind of prove that he's innocent. Just like, I was with you. And Lady Cranley's like, no, I have secrets I must keep.
I don't know what you're talking about.
And Nissa, Tegan, and Edric try and speak up for him, but only results in them being labelled as associates to murder. So it's fun. Poor them. And they all get arrested, and they all get trolleyed off to the station. The doctor tries to prove himself by going to show the TARDIS, except it's been moved from the train station. Just again, as an aside here, because I've noticed in New Who, people's like units seem to expend a lot of trouble moving the TARDIS, yet early 20th century bunch of policemen just moved it almost at no trouble.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay.
That's because it's actually supposed to be the weight of a police box.
Yeah, exactly.
that's
the whole point of the chameleon circuit.
Yeah. Yeah, so unit can sod off with their helicopter moving it all the time.
Yeah.
But luckily for the doctor, they find the TARDIS at the police station, and through the TARDIS, the doctor proves that he's innocent, been telling the truth all along. They hop, skip, and jump back to Cranley Manor, where Lord Cranley has found the dead body that the doctor found earlier, and kind of got Lady Cranley to confess what's been going on. And Anne finds out about it too and isn't too happy. Just as we find out who has actually been committed the murder is this deformed figure, which is revealed to be the oldest son of Lady Cranley, who had been on a trip to Brazil and met with an unfortunate accident with the tribe there, because he tried to take he did take the Black Orchid, which is sacred to them, and a neighboring tribe helped him out, which is why we have, I can't remember the Brazilian's name.
His name is Insensitive Stereotype, I think is his name.
But that explains why Insensitive Stereotype is there. Best name. So the doctor and the gang get back there, proving their innocence, and they get there just as the deformed figure, who we find out is George, a very appropriately English name. He has revealed himself, and he snatches who he thinks is Anne, but is actually Nissa, and runs off up to the top of the manor. Meanwhile, he's set a fire up in his room. So yeah, the manor's casually on fire throughout this, and so we end up on a sort of a rooftop sort of kerfuffle. I want to call it a showdown, but it's not quite intense for a showdown, so I'll call it a kerfuffle, in which the doctor shows that it's not Anne, it's Nissa. He gets Nissa off, and I felt so sorry for George in that moment, because you realise he just wants his fiancée. And then just as Lord Cranley is going to kind of, come in and just almost have like a I forgive you George moment, he goes and falls backwards and dies.
And I love how the doctor, Nissa, and Charles, they all look over and like, oh yeah, he's dead. This is like my favorite part of the whole story. Is like why do all three of them have to look?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Because dramaticness. One thing I did think of, just given that it was on a rooftop, the deformed nature of George, and even the fact that the man is on fire, I couldn't help but think of the Hunchback of Notre Dame
Yeah.
Yeah.
in that moment.
The thing is, the
Absolutely.
Empress of Mars is Jules Verne, 100%. And then the Black Orchid is like universal horror movie classics.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, again, we don't plan that on Whoscussion. It just happens. Like,
Yeah.
it just happens like that.
It would have been way better planned if we had the Visitation right now, because
Yeah.
we could be like moving right into the same actor.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
But yeah, so George dies, and the Doctor and his friends are kind of relieved of all charges and get gifted their fancy costumes that they got to wear. I don't know if that means the Doctor kept his Harlequin costume.
Oh
'cause
god, I hope not.
I don't know why. I don't know why anyone would want to keep that. But
My
no,
memories will keep
kinda
that
sums
forever.
I hope he kept that so that the 12th Doctor can wear it in the next episode.
But I think that brings us to the end of the story.
It does indeed. Thank you very
Does.
much. I'm going to get thoughts from Harriet Skelly, and then we'll move on to the Late Crow's thoughts. Harriet Skelly, your thoughts on Black Orchid?
Well, this story is really, really, really short. Like, crazy short. So I don't really have a lot of things to add, honestly. Except maybe that my favorite thing about this, besides the Doctor completely thrashing a bunch of humans at cricket, like he really wrecks them. Like, there's just no mercy.
Yeah,
Just
it's
completely
so
destroys
unfair
them.
because he's a high-functioning alien.
Yeah, it's like he could probably fight at like international cricket player level at least, and he just comes in on like a home team game and just completely destroys them. It's like, good job, real sportsman-like of you there, Doctor. The other thing that is my favorite is the unfortunate stereotype. Because of the thing he's got going on with his mouth, the actor probably was not very able to speak. So they had to dub over him with somebody else's voice. And you can clearly tell that is the case, because his audio is superior, vastly superior.
To everybody else's. The ADR is amazing.
That's what was off about it. I couldn't place it. Oh my god.
The ADR is great. It's like in what was it called? What was the one where the Doctor brutally murders the main bad guy? What was that called?
Not the Visitation.
Oh,
one
4 Days
before
to Doomsday. 4 to Doomsday. In 4 to Doomsday, when they clearly dub over Peter Davison with a different actor, when he says "thank you," that's one of my favorite moments of like classic Who's growing up. But that ADR for the native Brazilian was great.
It was beautiful. Yeah, those are my thoughts.
Alrighty.
That's really all I got. It's so short. It's 2 20-minute episodes. Like, it's, it's about
It's about modern Who
Yeah.
long.
it's about modern Who length. And not a lot happens. And I really hope that they paid Nissa
Sarah Sutton.
Sarah Sutton. Yeah, I hope they paid her twice for this.
Yeah.
Because she got left out of an episode, so she gets to be in an episode twice. Makes sense.
Agreed. The Late Crow, thoughts?
It is. It's a very short and sweet episode, and for all its failings, I did really enjoy it. There was one thing that the Doctor said that gave me pause for thought, and that it's at the very start when they get to the train station, and the Doctor says he's always wanted to drive a steam train when he was a boy.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, when did boy you come across steam trains?
Well,
when did a Gallifreyan child learn about those?
yeah.
Even TARDIS Wiki is like, so the Doctor says this thing.
Yeah. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
I guess that maybe toy train sets. There you go.
Yeah,
They were real big on Gallifrey.
maybe, yeah, because the Doctor, because we know the Doctor does have a model train set as well. So, I think it could be the Hermit. It could be the Hermit that told him about it. Because, I mean, he spent a lot of his childhood hanging out with that Hermit.
Yeah.
And the Hermit could...
The Hermit totally told him about Earth, and that's why he's got a big thing about it.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
And then the Hermit goes and lives there and creates his own Watcher to, like, look after his Buddhist monastery.
Exactly. That's why the Hermit shows up on Earth, of all places.
He's like, I've created a Buddhist monastery. Dude, you know... He's like, well, they believe in reincarnation in this religion. And what do we totally do? Oh. Anything else to like, Crow?
I think, again, it's short and sweet, and nothing much more to say than that, really.
Alrighty, okay. My thoughts are, this is the last and final pure historical. There's no alien. It's 1925 without giant wasps, thank God.
Don't remind me of that.
Yeah, the Doctor actually sings a song that only just gets released in 1925 in the song, in this episode as well, which is great. I also love the fact that the Doctor destroys them at cricket, which is so unfair, because he's a high functioning alien. It's like when the 11th Doctor becomes a flatmate, and he destroys at soccer, and it's just like, that's not fair, because you're only super good because you're a high functioning alien.
Yeah.
So you'd be able to like work out the next maneuver before they've figured out their first maneuver of the game.
Yeah. And that's just like strategically. You're also probably, you've got 2 hearts, so you'd be able to pump blood faster and better than anybody else. So you'd have the most adrenaline, the highest functioning immune system, so the best muscles. You would be faster, better, stronger than everyone else.
Exactly. I quite like the double booking for. It wasn't like. The double booking for Sarah Sutton. I think she plays the 2 characters distinctively enough for them to be 2 different characters instead of just Sarah Sutton with different haircut.
And they actually pulled off that effect way better than even like nowadays people try to pull that off. Like, seriously, like, have you seen like recent shows try to pull off like the same actress playing the same person, playing 2 different people, and the way that like they put the camera angles against each other? Like, it is utter badness. And they pull this off way better. I mean, they also did the same thing with the second Doctor, and they pulled that off well as good as well.
I love when
the Doctor Who's just way better at doing that for some reason.
I love when Salamander puts his face right up to the second Doctor's, and I'm just like, they are doing that on a non-existent budget in the 60s.
Yeah.
So this is short and sweet. There isn't a heck of a lot to say. I say watch it though. I think it's a good time. It's a very Agatha Christie-esque.
It is.
And it's handled better than when New Who. Why did New Who have to add that giant wasp? I think that... I think the wasp and the unicorn would have worked better if it was just a woman was hiding an affair she had when she was young. That would have been a significantly better story, and it would have been a pure historical, and it would have been heralded as a classic. It'd be like, when New Who did a pure historical, guys.
Yep.
I just...
Especially with Agatha Christie in it. Like,
Agatha Christie's in it. Oh, man.
Classic Who and Agatha Christie, here we go.
Yes. Yep. But...
And Donna Noble, like, it would have actually been heralded as the best New Who episode ever. If that was the case.
Exactly.
That's all you needed. You just remove one of those characters. Done. Easy. Fixed.
Anyways, I suppose that's us. We'll catch you guys in part B. And thank you again, The Late Crow, for joining us.
A pleasure as always.